5 at approximately 1:43 p.m., officers responded to a report of a crash on Ridge Road in the area of Orangeview Drive. The crash involved two vehicles, one being a 2024 maroon Dodge Durango SRT and a 2017 green Kia Soul. The Durango was occupied by the driver, Adaris Hayes, 20-year-old male out of Largo. The front seat passenger, Najee Domingos, 19, male out of Palm Harbor, and a 16-year-old rear passenger from Largo, Jayshawn Hill. The Kia Soul was occupied by the driver, Gail Price, 78-year-old female from Largo, front passenger, Herbert Rivera, 58-year-old male from Largo, and two juvenile rear seat passengers, Charlie Herbert Solomon Rivera, 4 years old from Wesley Chapel, and Jabari Elijah Solomon, 10 years old, from Wesley Chapel. The crash is still under investigation, so specific details cannot and will not be discussed at this time. What we do know is that the Dodge Durango was traveling south on Ridge Road. The Kia was traveling north on Ridge Road and attempting to make a left-hand turn or turn westbound on the Orangeview Drive. The collision occurred, or while making the left turn, the Kia was struck on its passenger side by the front end of the Durango. The collision caused two children in the Kia to be ejected from the vehicle. Additionally, it caused both the driver and the front seat passenger to be transported for injuries. The two children, Charlie Rivera and Jabari Solomon, passed away at the scene. The driver, Gail Price, passed away at the hospital yesterday, and the front seat passenger, Herbert Rivera, remains in the hospital in critical condition. As far as the occupants of the Durango, the driver, Adarius, and rear seat passenger, Jayshawn, were transported for treatment and have since been released. The front passenger, Najee, was not transported from the scene. We've been asked to comment on several facets of the investigation, which we simply can't do at this time. This includes how fast the vehicles were traveling, whether any of the occupants were wearing seat belts or were in child seats, and whether charges are to follow. At this time, as I said, we can't comment on these factors as they're still part of the investigation. It's a serious crash which resulted in 3 fatalities. Our focus is on ensuring that we gather all the pertinent facts and reconstruct the crash with all the available data. Once this has been done, it will guide the direction as to whether there will be any citations issued or any criminal charges levied. I have a brief update on another incident that happened last Thursday, but at this time, if anybody has any questions on the crash that I just spoke of, I'm welcome to ask them.
Could you just talk about, based on the investigation, who had the right of way?
Well, when you're making the left-hand turn onto another vehicle, onto a roadway, you have to make sure that you provide the right of way. So whether speed was a factor, whether the vehicle had the right of way, that's all part of the investigation. So the right of way is the main key point of that, right? Who had the right of way at the point of impact. So that'll be definitely part of the investigation.
Right now, who are you guys talking to learn more? Are you talking to Nate areas? Who are you speaking to try to get more information?
Well, we'll take testimony from any witnesses. We do have witnesses. We have video from area cameras and from another vehicle that was in the area. We'll also take crash data from both of the vehicles that were involved. So all of that stuff, and in addition to that, we have equipment that we set up on a traffic crash scene to kind of reconstruct the entire incident. So we take that reconstruction with all the testimony and all the other video evidence, and we put it together to come up with how we reconstruct that crash.
Is there a timeline on normally how something like this takes place?
I would guess probably 2 or 3 weeks we should have a good sense of direction on where, if any charges are going to be filed, or any citations or any criminal charges will be filed.
Chief, could you just get some context for that road, how busy it would have been Saturday at 143, what the conditions are usually on that road?
It's like many roads in Pinellas County, it's a major thoroughfare, so it's got times when it's super busy and times when it's not. 1:30 on a Saturday, I don't believe it's that busy. But again, that'll be part of the investigation because we do have some video, we do have some witness testimony to provide how much traffic was on the roadway at that time. I know the speed limit's posted at 40 miles an hour, and I think traffic was light from what I recall that day.
It's kind of ambiguous as to whether there's blood or toxicology taken in a fatal accident. Is that something that's done, or is there an expert that weighs in whether that should take place?
We have guidelines that guide us on whether or not we're going to do a blood draw or draw. It does happen frequently on fatalities, but typically we need some sort of an indicator to guide us in that direction. We don't just pull blood out of everybody just because you're in a crash. So if we have indications leading us to believe there's some sort of intoxicants or narcotics involved, then we'll go that route, and we work with the state attorney to do that if it's going to require a warrant. We don't have any indication at this time to believe there was any kind of alcohol or narcotics involved.
Will you guys be releasing any type of video or images?
We'll assess what the video is, and I mean, the reality is it's public record unless there's a way that we have to keep it closed from public view, then it'll be public record, but yeah, I don't plan on putting it out just overtly right now. Well, not right now because the investigation's still active.
It's still an active investigation.
Yeah.
Do you know the relationship between the driver of the Kia Soul and then those passengers?
The driver of the Kia Soul, from what we gather at this time, was in a relationship with the passenger, the front seat passenger, and the front seat passenger was the father to the youngest child.
Any other questions regarding the crash on Saturday before he goes on to an update on the Thursday hit and run? Okay.
The second one, briefly, this was an incident that occurred last Thursday about 8:50 p.m. at the Walmart on Roosevelt Boulevard, 2677 Roosevelt Boulevard. At that time, or during the course of that investigation, a female, Lauren Lewis Howells, was arrested. Basically, she was recklessly driving in the parking lot of the Walmart. Ultimately, she hit a vehicle. She hit a mother and the mother's 6-year-old daughter. The mother was thrown as she was hit with the vehicle, and the 6-year-old was trapped underneath the vehicle for approximately 500 feet as that vehicle tried to flee the parking lot. Eventually fled the parking lot. Both the mother and the daughter are in the hospital. The daughter's in serious critical condition, as you can imagine. The mother is also still in the hospital. And Lauren Lewis Howells was arrested that evening and potentially have additional charges will be pending on her other than leaving the scene with property damage and 2 felonies for leaving the scene with injuries and also reckless driving with bodily injuries. So, anybody have any questions on that case? Or
Questions?
I mean, Chief, those are 2 pretty horrific accidents recently. Is there any message that you would like to get out to drivers or to the community about driving safely on the roads?
well, clear, one's in a parking lot, one's on the roadway. So clearly, whenever you're behind the wheel of a vehicle, you need to operate in a safe manner. People get frustrated in road rage incidents, not saying any of these have to do with that, but certainly we deal with wrecks all the time and crashes all the time. So anytime you get on the roadway with a vehicle, be mindful of what you're doing, watch what you're doing, focus, put your phones down. I'll take the opportunity to mention that it's National Police Week right now for the next week and to recognize that our officers and officers throughout the communities in the United States deal with these incidents every day. So while they're out dealing with a child that was trapped underneath a car dragged for 500 feet, or 3 fatalities on Ridge Road, all of these incidents is what our officers respond to on a daily basis. So I think it's tremendous on their part that I think the community should look at the officers that they work with and just give them thanks during this week because they deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis. Not only worrying about their own safety from call to call, but also just walking away with the emotional baggage that comes with some of the calls that they respond to.
Talk about the importance of restraints, both seatbelt and child.
Obviously, it's important to wear your seatbelts, and if you have a child, keep your child in a safety seat. I think most cars nowadays, you can't even get in the car and drive without it going off relentlessly if you don't have your seatbelt on. So you have to make an overt action almost to not put your seatbelt on, or to not put your child in a child safety seat. Even the child in most cars nowadays, I think they're kind of weighed by the seat. If the seat has so much pressure on it, it's gonna activate that alert to make sure you have a child in the safety seat.
Any last questions?
All right, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.